If I could go back in time to when I started losing my hair, these are 5 hair mistakes that I would have told my younger self, which would have made my hair loss journey a lot less painful. So let's get to it. So, hair mistake number 1 that I made is not washing my hair frequently and not shampooing my hair correctly. I used to wash my hair pretty frequently. I would wash it every other day because it did used to get greasy. But then all of a sudden, when I told myself, okay, this is the time I'm gonna fix my hair loss, I just decided that I needed to wash my hair less for some crazy reason, because that must have been the trend online at the time that, washing your hair frequently was gonna make your hair fall out. So I ended up washing my hair maybe every 5 to 7 days. But what ended up happening was I ended up triggering my seborrheic dermatitis. I can't say it properly. Okay, dermatitis of the scalp. I had never had problems with dermatitis on my scalp before growing up, but all of a sudden, when I stopped washing my hair as frequently, I triggered the scalp dermatitis, and then I just continuously had it on the scalp, and I didn't realize that not washing my hair was what was causing the dermatitis on my scalp, because obviously all the oils get clogged up on your scalp and your scalp then begins to start itching and flaking. And just remember that if you don't have a clean scalp and your scalp is inflamed, this isn't going to provide you with the ideal environment for optimal hair growth. And as well, if you have a flaky and itchy scalp, you're going to be using your dirty hands and your dirty fingernails, and you're going to be touching your hair and scratching it, and maybe you could cause more damage if you have germs on your hands and then you then spread it into your scalp. This is probably going to cause you more itching and more problems. So it's best to clean your scalp and keep it clean so that your hair has the best chance of growing. And especially, this didn't occur to me before, but if you are living in a country where there is pollution, remember that pollution is going to stick to your skin and your hair, and obviously leaving pollution in your hair is not going to be ideal for your scalp. I never even realized this before, but it's something that my hair doctor actually mentioned to me, and I completely didn't even think about it. Yeah, if you're living in a country like Thailand where there is pollution, you're probably going to want to wash that pollution out of your hair. Number 2, the second hair mistake that I made was relying on natural remedies to help fix my hair. And I feel like there's a lot of buzz for natural remedies in the health and beauty world, and I was one of those people that thought natural was better for both my skin and my hair. And it just turns out for me personally that trying to use natural products for my skin and my hair just ended up doing me so much damage in the long run. Obviously, I know there are people out there who have found success using natural products, but just remember that a lot of people online don't always try and find out what the root of their hair loss was. So they could have easily have been suffering from telogen effluvium and used rosemary oil or peppermint oil on their scalp, and the hair loss ended up stopping, and then they credit it to using natural products, when actually if you have acute telogen effluvium, then the hair loss is going to stop eventually. It didn't necessarily mean that the products that you were putting on your scalp stopped the hair loss from occurring. It just stopped naturally, which I think is the case for a lot of people online who say that natural products have helped their hair loss. But at the same time, I'm not discrediting using natural products, because actually I read a meta-analysis that analyzed a bunch of different articles, and it looks at using what they call complementary and alternative medicines for treating androgenetic alopecia. I will link this study in the description below, because actually it was really interesting to read. And some studies do show that using alternative medicines, natural remedy, can work for androgenetic alopecia. So I'm not discrediting that natural products can work for hair loss. I'm just saying be skeptical of some of the people that you do see online. The next big hair mistake that I made was spending lots of money on expensive shampoos and conditioners. I just want to point out that there are going to be a lot of shampoos and conditioners on the market that note that they can help with your hair growth or help with your hair length. But just remember that a lot of these products are not going to fix the root of the problem. If you are having problems with your hair at the level of the follicle, then these shampoos and conditioners are not going to work. Some shampoos and conditioners may be good for helping your hair to stay moisturized, which means it will stop it from snapping. But just remember that hair shedding and hair snapping are two completely different things. As mentioned before, shedding is at the level of the follicle, whereas snapping relates more to hair that is dry at the ends and then it's snapping. So I would say if you are having problems with hair loss, then going out and buying expensive shampoos is not necessarily going to fix the problem. I'm not writing off using shampoos and conditioners because actually I use Nizoral, and I use Nizoral as a shampoo because this keeps my dermatitis at bay, which I said helps give you more optimal conditions for your hair to grow. I use this as well because this definitely doesn't break the bank. I know a lot of shampoos out there that clean your scalp can really break the bank. In Thailand, I believe this is around £5 to £10 a bottle, which is probably a lot more expensive than it is in the West. This is an affordable shampoo that you can use that will help clean your scalp and help keep the dermatitis and the dandruff away. And then I do make sure I use a conditioner, and I do leave it on for around 3 minutes because I have noticed that if I use something quite harsh like Nizoral, then it does tend to leave my hair feeling pretty dry and brittle. So if you are washing your hair a lot with Nizoral, then I would recommend using some type of deep conditioner to just help keep your hair moisturized. This isn't a holy grail product, this is just a conditioner that I bought and it seems to be doing the trick. So, you know, I'm not very well versed in conditioners because I have no hair, so. And the next hair mistake is taking useless vitamins. I feel like there is an abundance of vitamins in stores and on the market that are supposed to help you with your hair growth. Just remember that some brands are out to take your money and they don't necessarily care about your hair loss. You know, I'm sure we all know that marketing is marketing and people will prey on other people's insecurities just to make some money. So just keep that in mind when you are looking at hair vitamins in the shop. It's not 100% going to do what it says on the tin. I looked into this a bit further because I do watch a lot of Dr. Dre. I think Dr. Dre is really good to watch if you are experiencing hair loss or any kind of beauty concerns. Do check out her channel. And she had mentioned the other day that biotin does not do anything for hair loss. I wanted to also check this out for myself because this is something that I believe as well. So I found another study which again is a meta-analysis, and it has analysed 125 articles looking at the use of vitamins and minerals for hair loss, and it came to certain conclusions using all the data from those 125 articles. So number one, it says that biotin does not work unless you are actually deficient in biotin. While signs of biotin deficiency include hair loss, skin rashes and brittle nails, the efficacy of biotin in supplements for hair, skin and nails as a means to remedy these conditions is not supported in large-scale studies. So I believe that in the study, it did note that the people who benefited from taking biotin for hair loss were people who were actually deficient in biotin, and that's why it helped with their hair loss. But actually, it's very rare for people to be deficient in biotin. So if you are out there taking biotin, there is a good chance that it's not actually doing anything for your hair because you're not actually deficient in biotin. And don't get me wrong, I remember the hype about this like 8 years ago, and I remember buying biotin supplements and it did absolutely nothing for my hair. So I've always been skeptical of biotin ever since I started taking it a long time ago. But you know, some people say it works, so if it works for you, that's completely fine. I'm just letting you know. And for vitamin A, it actually noted that if you take too much vitamin A, it can actually cause hair loss, and if you ingest too much vitamin A, it can be toxic on the body. So this is something that you should probably be very careful with if you are taking vitamin A, but I've never really heard of vitamin A for hair loss personally, so I'm going to assume it's not that popular. And vitamin D. Although a relationship between vitamin D levels and AGA or TE is still being debated, most authors agree in supplementing vitamin D in patients with hair loss and vitamin D deficiency. So it's saying if you are experiencing both hair loss and vitamin D deficiency, that is when it would probably be recommended that you do take some type of vitamin D supplement. And the next mineral it talks about is iron, and obviously iron is a very big one. As you guys know, my chronic telogen effluvium was triggered because I was very low in iron, and this article also does note that low iron can cause hair loss in the form of telogen effluvium, which is what I experienced. And it does note that there is no set in stone ideal level for iron in order for hair growth, but there is a general consensus that 40 nanograms per deciliter to 70 nanograms per deciliter is the ideal range based on the literature. But again, as you guys know, I believe my ferritin was 42 or 45 and I was experiencing chronic telogen effluvium. It wasn't until I got my iron over 70 that my hair stopped shedding so much. So everybody is going to be different, so just bear that in mind. As with anything, work with a doctor to find out what your range is. So my point of that is, and I know I rambled on for a very long time, just because a medication is really expensive, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for your hair. I know there are certain brands, certain medications out there that cost like $60 for a month's supply, which is absolutely crazy. And if you think about how much that is going to cost you in the long run, that is a hefty price tag for hair loss, when you could be better off just going to see a doctor, finding out what you're deficient in and being prescribed some medication for that. Because at the end of the day as well, you don't want to be ingesting a load of random vitamins that your body doesn't need. That isn't going to be what is healthy for your body, and it's not going to be healthy for your bank balance either, so just keep that in mind as well. Yeah. And the final mistake when it came to my hair loss was not getting a second opinion. And I've seen this in my comment section, I've seen this on Reddit. People go to doctors and those doctors do not take them seriously when they voice their concerns about hair loss. The same thing happened to me with the first doctor that I went to. As I told you guys before, she completely brushed me off and made me feel really stupid when I asked her if my health condition was causing my hair loss, which I found out now that it was. But yeah, she made me feel really stupid, and I didn't pursue that for a very long time because I just stuck with her opinion because I thought she's a doctor, she knows what's best. But sometimes that just turns out not to be the case. All practitioners are going to be very different. The amount of information that a doctor is going to know is going to be completely different depending on the doctor, depending on their education, depending on how much they actually care about hair loss. It is going to vary so drastically from practitioner to practitioner. If you feel like there is something wrong and you feel like the doctor is not taking you seriously or is selling you snake oil products or is not testing the things that you want to have tested, then you need to go and see a different doctor and find somebody that is going to take you seriously. Because if you're really experiencing hair loss at the level of the follicle, then this is going to be something that is going to help you out massively. As I mentioned to you guys before, I was seeing a very expensive doctor in Thailand, and I thought because this is one of the best hospitals in Bangkok that I'm going to get world-class treatment and it's going to fix my hair loss. And they just ended up selling me snake oil products, not taking me seriously, just rushing me through the appointment, not explaining anything to me. I would always have to ask why is this, why is that? It never occurred to him that he actually had to explain what I was asking about. It never occurred to him that, I don't really understand anything about hair loss, please can you explain it to me? And I just feel like if you have a doctor like that, you just need to go and find someone else, because now I have a wonderful doctor who took me seriously from the moment I met her, and she actually showed me scientific literature the first time I went to see her, and the medication that she was prescribing me, she showed me why she was prescribing me it based on some scientific literature, which I think is so useful. And if I stuck with the first doctor's opinion that I had, then I wouldn't be here now on my way to fixing my hair loss. I would still be stuck not knowing what to do. And not only that, you do need to research for yourself. Research as much as you can about hair loss. Always remain skeptical about things you see online. I'm not a doctor. You need to take everything that you see online with a grain of salt and research it for yourself, because At the end of the day, it's only going to be you who's going to take care of your hair loss. Nobody else cares about your hair loss as much as you do. You're in charge of making sure you know as much as you can so that you have a fighting chance of actually fixing your hair loss. Everything else and everyone else is out to make money. So you need to make sure that you stay educated, remain skeptical, and just keep going. Just keep going. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you found it useful, then be sure to give it a like, and if you're enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date with me on this whole crazy hair loss, hair growth journey that we're all on together, and I'll see you in the next one.